Hello and welcome to the first 2024 convention orientation webinar, if you will, for this year. We're excited to have you and to welcome you to Indianapolis for convention in a couple of weeks. And just want to thank you for representing your chapter or just having a general interest in attending convention and learning more about what not to miss, roles, responsibilities, do's, don'ts, all of that stuff. So Wendy and I are here to go through a lot of those things. And before we get started, I just want to review a couple of things for the Zoom meeting. A couple of web-based features that are available to you. We'll advance the PowerPoint remotely, ask that you remain muted throughout the course of the event until it's time for questions. And then also somewhere on your screen, because we're all on different devices, there should be a chat icon where you can certainly chat with everyone else who's on the call. If you do, just introduce yourself so we all know who you are. Maybe add your school, your chapter, that stuff as well. And yeah, I think we'll kick it off with the agenda then tonight. So we have three big things that we're going to do tonight. One is do some convention highlights, and then we're going to have a quick video on reviewing the proposed legislation. And then we'll wrap up with reviewing on-site delegate and alternate delegate responsibilities. And with me tonight, I realized I didn't do an introduction of myself, so we'll do that. I'm Jason Pierce, serve as the Senior Director of Learning and Development for Alpha Kappa Psi. And with me tonight is Wendy Wendroff, our convention chair, and I'll let her do a quick introduction and move us into what not to miss at convention. Wendy?
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jason, and thank you all for joining us this evening. Yes, I am pleased to say that I am the convention chair, and we are going to Indianapolis, racing capital of the world, the Circle City, the Crossroads of America, Naptown at one time, so that all kinds of different names. I have been privileged enough to serve as the convention chair for a number of conventions now. Each one gets a little bigger and better, and we are very excited to be able to welcome you into Indianapolis. As Jason said, there is a chat function that you can use, or at the very end, we will answer questions. So we will monitor the chat as we go along, but we'll wait until the very end to answer any questions. So I am going to kick it off now to Jason.
Okay.
Oh, no, I think it's me.
It's you with the car.
Still me.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're offering here still is a roommate and a carpool sharing. You may only have maybe 2 people in your room, in your hotel room. If you're looking to find 2 other people from another chapter that might be interested in sharing with you, then you could use this forum to try to find those other people. The carpooling one could either be if you are by chance driving to Indianapolis, maybe someone could pick you up on the way, or you could pick someone up on the way. Or the only, you will have to transport yourself from the airport to the hotel. And the only way to do that is either through a taxi or a ride share. So maybe you can even connect with some people that might be landing at about the same time that you are. And you can connect with them to share that ride share. That's a lot of sharing. But already a great way to network. You'll already know somebody who is attending convention. So those are a couple of the resources that we have out there that can help you along with your journey through convention.
Yep. And then I will just note that if you don't get a chance to scan the QR code, the form and the report to see who else has filled out the form is available on our website, akpsi.org/convention. So you can find both of those items there as well. Okay, I think we're going to move on to something kind of fun and unique this year. This is going to happen at the Brothers Night Out grand opening of the Howell Wendroff Professional Center. We're going to be introducing a time capsule. And as a part of that, a few things that we want to have a awesome showing from our members is if you'd like to put something into the time capsule, please feel free to do so. We're asking that it not be too big, so probably postcard size, 3x5 if you have something from your campus, from your chapter, keychain, just something fun that might be representative of you, your chapter, your campus. Could be an artifact, something from the archives that you want to have in the time capsule. You might be wondering, well, when are we going to open this time capsule? And that answer is 2054. And that seems so far away to say right now, but really it's just 30 years, and that will be our 150th anniversary in Alpha Kappa Psi. So kind of really cool opportunity, I think, for you to be a part of something unique and something that we're going to dig into in the future. So to do that, to add something, bring your item to convention and then bring it up to the grand opening and Brothers Night Out celebration, which we'll talk a little bit more about tonight later on Friday night. So yeah, the one item I will say we're not collecting for the time capsule is any type of clothing. So no t-shirts, no sweatshirts, no hoodies, no jackets, nothing like that. That's just too big for the actual container we have. So trying to keep things small so we can get a lot of flavor and a lot of opportunities for many individuals to participate. So yeah. Wendy, I think I'll turn it over to you to talk about something new, brand new this year. Is our convention orientation?
I am very excited about this particular event. Every time we talk about that, convention has a lot of opportunities to network. So we are going to start you right off on Wednesday with not only an opportunity to network, but we're also going to provide you some tips, hints, guides, tricks that will make your convention experience a far more positive one. So on Wednesday, we will be having Start Your Engines. It's a convention orientation. Different than what you're hearing today. It will be more of on-site type of activities. We're going to start at 10:30 on Wednesday morning, and we'll have these every hour on the half hour until 5:30. And then again, we will do it 9:30 and 10:30. I think I got that wrong. I think it's 8:30 and 9:30 on Thursday for those people that are coming in late on Wednesday. So it will be just a few minutes to give you. So we'll talk to you about, let's say, maybe there's some good restaurants in the area that we can direct you to. Maybe there are some good hints as to how you can network and how you can meet people. The beauty of this is that the majority of the people that you're going to meet at the Westin Hotel are going to be with AK Psi. So that is going to be a positive experience. As you walk by individuals, they are probably in the fraternity. So these sessions are going to be led by our current president. We have several past presidents that are going to offer their support. We also have I think we're going to get Deshaun Keys, who I see on the call, to do one of the sessions. So we're going to have individuals that are chairmen of the board, past fraternity presidents, past chairmen, all of those types of things. So the real leadership of the organization will be handling these events. And I'm very excited about this particular one.
I'm excited about it too, because it's low tech. So be prepared to be engaged during the whole time frame.
Yeah. Do you remember what a flip chart is? Because that is our only technology.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, Wendy, do you want to go right into Teachers Treasures?
Oh, I would love to.
Yeah.
One of our core values, as you are certainly all aware, is service. For the last number of conventions, we have partnered with a local charity to help them collect items. We are really good about collecting items. So what we're asking you is, when you come to convention, bring any of these items or any other school supply or something. What Teachers Treasures does is they offer an opportunity for any teacher to come in and shop their store. But the bonus is to this store is that they don't pay for any of the things that they that that are there in the store. So that is really, we are helping the community. Education is service is certainly what we are about. So this is just a small sample of the types of items that we will be collecting. If you choose not to, you don't want to carry it with you because maybe you only have a carry-on and you just want to bring that many things that you can't fit it all in your suitcase. The QR codes to the Amazon and the Target wish list will, you can order right from there, and then the goods will be sent directly to our offices in Noblesville, and you won't even have to mess with any of that. So we would definitely encourage you and urge you to at least bring a package of pencils or pens. Doesn't have to be a huge amount of things, but if everyone brought a package of pencils, just think of that impact that we could make for Teachers Treasures.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you to Jacob for posting right into the chat those links. So thank you so much, Jacob. Okay. Well, we don't stop at just one thing new or two things new. We have to go for another thing. So this year we are hosting a blood drive on site. This will happen on Wednesday, July 24th, as you're checking in, as individuals are checking in. You'll have the opportunity to consider donating blood to help out the Indianapolis area community. It is hosted by Versiti Blood Center of Indiana, and all of the blood that is collected during the blood drive will stay local to the Indianapolis community through their service. It will end at 6 p.m. because we have some other things happening that night, as well as the blood center staff will need to wrap up and they'll need to head home for the night too. So this is total opportunity to again give back to the Indianapolis community just in the form of donated blood this time around. So if you are not interested, totally fine, but do spread the word for anyone else who you're traveling with who may be interested in donating blood to Versiti Blood Center during our convention. So something new we're excited about. Something just popped up. Okay, the other thing I wanted to just kind of talk about and open up tonight is we are hosting our Brothers Night Out and the grand opening of our Howell Wendroff Professional Center on Friday, July 26th. We will be busing the entire convention up to the building, and it'll be a night packed with so many things. Like, I'm losing count at this point. It is a band, it is food, it is actually on-site barbecue that's going to be cooked here. It is activities throughout the course of the event. It's photo ops, it's a ribbon cutting, it's my gosh, I mean, there's just so many things that we've packed into this 3 to 4 hour event for everyone to participate and see kind of what we've done with the building, or what's not us personally, but what's been done to the building and how we're going to be able to use it in the future for our organization and what that means to us. So just an opportunity to highlight what's going on in Alpha Kappa Psi and highlight the kind of awesome things that we're doing. So I don't know, Wendy, anything you want to add for that night?
No, I don't think so, but it is definitely going to be a jam-packed evening. As Jason said, what I would ask is for everyone to, think positive thoughts for no rain.
Yes, that would be great. That would be great. That would be 100%. Okay, well, those are like the big what not to miss items. And so now we're going to move over into some proposed legislation. And I'm actually going to just be sure that you all can hear the screen when it's on. So what we have is a video from our chair of the board of directors, Mike Dickerson, and I believe Luke Bodorf, who's also on the board of directors, but is the Constitution Committee chair. We have a video of them explaining the legislation. We won't be taking questions about the legislation. tonight, but if you want to submit any questions, feel free to do so to education@aksi.org, and then we'll forward it off to them so that way they get any questions that you have. So just in full transparency, neither Wendy or I are the legislation people, so it's best that you get your question to the right person and answered by the right people. So I'm going to go ahead and kick us off with that video then.
First of all, good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Dickerson, chair of the board. Thank you very much for letting Luke and I crash your meeting tonight. It's been a while since we've had Monday night meetings with the management team, so it's a pleasure to be here. Our goal tonight is to talk to you about the 8 pieces of legislation that are being considered by Chapter Congress in a couple weeks in Indianapolis. There are 2 Constitution Committee, 2 Finance Committee, and 4 Membership Committee pieces of legislation that are being discussed. The way Chapter Congress works, if you haven't been before, is every piece of legislation has to go to a committee first before it gets to the Congress floor. The committee has the ability to amend or kill or move on without any changes legislation for Chapter Congress's consideration. What we're going to go over tonight, and I'll toss it to Luke to do, is go over the 8 pieces of legislation, the intent behind it, and then why the board recommended, didn't recommend, or had no comment for it. If you have any questions throughout the entire presentation, feel free to shoot them. Luke and I will tag team. He'll do the verbal. I'll talk in the chat to answer any questions that you have coming up. And with that, I'll toss over to Luke.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike. Again, as Mike said, I appreciate you letting us be here. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Luke Bottorff. I'm one of the current board members. And in my professional life, I'm an attorney that do a lot of main area of focus is transactional type work, including representing businesses and nonprofits. So Mike had asked me to take a look at our current governing documents, and we've had some committee calls and lots of people put some input into here, but I kind of came up with the strategy of coming up with bylaws, which is really what most nonprofit organizations use as their documents that govern a lot of the day-to-day type of things in the Constitution, which, if y'all have seen our Constitution as it currently stands, has been is very lengthy, very prescriptive, has been added to and amended, but not really a whole rewrite done in a long time, as you can see through the intent of the legislation. So there's a lot of good information in there. You have copies of the Constitution, the clean version, and a track change version. So if you remember the old Constitution, it had the Constitution, and then under that had all these caputs and different sections of it. So basically we pulled out everything and put it into this new bylaws change. So when you see in the track changes version, the reds and the greens, those have all been moved into the bylaws version that's been proposed. And then the bylaws were cleaned up to go with what kind of the way we're operating right now in the current business. There was a lot of management team things that had to be taken out based on our recent management team restructure and change as well. So our overall intent was to make the bylaws or to make a simplified constitution that still sets out rights of membership and all the important major things, but that we don't have to go in and have that document amended and changed as much as it has been, and have our bylaws be the document that really drives the day-to-day thoughts behind the strategy of the board and how the fraternity operates. So the one of the challenges that I think we all saw with not only AKSI, but every organization during COVID was just the inability to change quickly. And one of the things that we need is the ability to make some changes on the fly in terms of how to manage things. I mean, conventions, for example, is something that obviously came up. So we've, you can read through the bylaws, like Mike said. I'm happy to, we can put my contact information in the chat. I'm happy to talk offline to anybody as well that has specific questions or wants me to walk them through specific things. But one of the things that I really wanted to kind of go over was that major intent, which was a lot of it is a reorganization of the documents right now, which is really just simplifying the Constitution, moving everything to the bylaws, and then cleaning up the bylaws from that standpoint. The bylaws, I think the biggest thing that that we have questions about, we wanted to make sure that was clear, is the amendment section. And that's that both the chapter Congress and the board of directors have the authority to amend the bylaws. If the board of directors amends the bylaws, they have to, at each following convention, summarize what they've done. So the chapter Congress still is the ultimate governing body in terms of what's in there. It just gives us the flexibility in those 2 years or however long it has to be between conventions to make amendments that are needed for the sake of the fraternity. Because as board members, we are charged with looking out from a liability and financial standpoint. So we try to keep that in mind as we move forward. So I just wanted to kind of give that major overview to everybody. Mike, is there anything else you wanted to add into there from that standpoint?
I think you covered it. I think the overall thing for the management team, the program managers to understand is this is a 1-for-1 changing. This is simply a restructuring. Everything that's in the current Constitution statutory code is in this new document. It's just organized differently. It's more in line with typical nonprofit governance. So if the reason why we're talking to you about this tonight is as your delegates are going into convention, if they have questions about the background to this, we're arming you with the information as to the context. It's one thing to look at the white paper that's part of the legislation packet. It's another thing to actually hear this from the board and understand why this is being put forward for chapter Congress's consideration. So the next piece of legislation has to do with the timing of convention. This is an example of the prescriptive nature of our current governing documents and how it talks about when the convention will be, when the first 10 days of January. It's not something that goes with what we're trying to do with the overall governing documents. And so the board recommends it does not pass, as you can see here. Okay, moving on to the dues adjustment. So the other piece of legislation that is super important is this one. We haven't had a dues increase in almost a decade. And we all know everything's more expensive. I'll give you a really good example. The AV cost in Chicago alone for Elevate was more than the revenue that was brought in by all 3 locations combined. Like, it's expensive for us to run AKSI operations. The dollar doesn't go as far as it does, and so this is basically a dues increase. What this also does, which is different than past dues adjustments, is it actually puts in an escalation clause that has a cap for for the board to adjust based upon the needs of the organization every year. So what it does is it sets dues, so it snaps the chalk line at $80 US, $80, and then the pledge dues at 65 and initiation dues at 110. It also says that dues can increase up to 5%, but no more than 5%, as determined by the board of directors. Now, if there's ever a reason where there's like hyperinflation, like Venezuelan levels of inflation, then we're in a bad situation as it is. But then chapter Congress would actually be asked to adjust this. The point is, we are not sustainable as an organization if we don't adjust dues to bring in more revenue based upon how much things are costing. So part of the overall sales pitch for this piece of legislation is that, unlike most organizations which increase dues every year or every other year, we haven't in almost 10. And a lot of the stuff that has been done with the last dues increase is what we're looking at right now with all the technology, all the programming, all the things Alpha Kappa Psi is paying for its members is because of the last dues increase. We're basically asking this generation now to raise their hand and take their turn to keep AKSI going for the next couple of decades. Moving on to publicizing internal financial information.
Mike, can we back up for a quick second?
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure everybody's aware, like how we got to the dollar amounts for the $80 for dues twice annually, 65 for the pledge fee, and $110 for the initiation fee. Is basically what I did was I went back to 2015 and the amounts that they approved, which was 48, 84, and 60 for those 3 amounts, as I said, what is that dollar amount worth in 2024? Got that number and then bumped it up a couple of dollars to round to a nice even number. So it's basically what we're doing is we're if this passes at these amounts, we're resetting back to 2015 of what the purchasing power of those of basically the membership revenue, which, as you know, AKSI is 90% funded by student revenue at this point, to bring us back to that same purchasing power that we had in 2015. Sorry.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. And that's a really good point for everyone to mention to their students if they ask questions as to why we got to these numbers. So moving on to the next piece of legislation about publicizing internal financial information. This was recommended by a region. And so therefore the board responded to the exact text that was submitted by that region. What this is asking for is that the fraternity publishes everything that we do, including the individual salaries of employees. So for any of us that work in any kind of business, you can understand why that would be wrought with peril as far as individual employees' salaries being released. It's one thing for the CEO or the chief operating officer or the board, if they were paid, to have their salaries released. And they are. They're on the IRS 990. It's a published document. You can look it up every year. It's sent out to everyone every year. But when you're talking about the rest of the staff having their information be published, that can cause all kinds of issues. Additionally, the actual legislation itself is very, very broad because it doesn't necessarily talk about what type of financial information, to what level of detail, where it's being published, and to what end. So at a macro sense, we're trying to figure out what problem this is trying to solve. And if the issue is transparency and they're trying to figure out where people's dues are going, we can provide that information very easily. If they want the information for the salaries to be published because they think that that's something that's being kept secret, it's not. It's being published online and to the government every single year. So the board recommends this piece of legislation does not pass. Moving on to financial suspension changes. This one is relatively straightforward. Basically, the board's recommending this pass because it's going to reduce the process for financial suspension of student members from at least now it's 2 months to about a month. So that way you don't go through a massive process of financial suspension by the time the semester comes around and bills are due. You're still technically having someone in good standing and you're responsible for them. You all are more involved in the operational aspects of AKSI than I am, but to me, this seems like a relatively straightforward piece of legislation about making things a little bit easier and less bureaucratic. Moving on to pledging age requirements. So the verbiage here talks about that potential new members must be over the legal age of the country at the time of the first day of classes back to university. This is another example of a vague proposal. Legal age is based upon different aspects. Is it voting age? Is it drinking age? Is it age for enrollment in universities? Some universities allow people who are technically under the age of 18 to enroll. And additionally, we might not be able to enforce this. And finally, what problem are we trying to solve? And again, I ask this rhetorically. It's not clear in legislation that was put forward for board's consideration this spring why this legislation is being put forward. So the board recommends it does not pass. Next one has to do with degree requirements for membership. Honestly, the board interpreted this as a misinterpretation of what the actual legislation or what the Constitution actually says. The proposed change says that the course of study is no fewer than 1 academic year in length for any such degree. The problem is what the length of time is modifying is the actual course of study that university offers. So a 2-year institution for a degree versus a 1-year institution is what the actual text of the legislation is putting forward. So the board recommends it doesn't pass because to our knowledge, there is no 1-year degree program that's outside of like a master's in accounting 5+4+1 or something like that. And so we don't think that this is an appropriate thing to put into the governing documents. And the last one has to do with removing the chaplain, warden, and chapter historian. The board doesn't have a recommendation, partially because it's kind of already done. It's a fait accompli. These positions don't have roles in the ritual anymore, and they're not something that we're using in our back-end technology and our reporting software to say these are one of the required chapter officers. So you can pass it. We don't really have a recommendation. It's up to the membership committee to decide whether or not this goes forward. And that's all 8 pieces of legislation that are being discussed at Chapter Congress later this year.
Okay, well, thank you to Mike and Luke for explaining that. Again, if you have any questions on the legislation, just ask me to reach out to education@aksci.org, and we will get your question off to those 2 individuals. So, Wendy, do you want to kick us off with what the delegates and delegates and alternate delegates will need to do on site?
I would love to do that. So you have, if you are serving as a delegate or an alternate delegate, you have been given a big responsibility from your chapter. So I'm just going to highlight here for the first 2 days what those responsibilities will entail. Now, we know convention lasts until Saturday night, but your role as a delegate and or an alternate is, it really is for Thursday's events only. So when you arrive in Indianapolis, there will be an area for you to check in. At that point in time, you'll get your name badge, any registration materials that you might have. Please note that all of these functions are taking place at the Westin, which is our convention hotel. And it is on the 2nd floor of the Grand Ballroom. There is an escalator that goes right up from the lobby, and you can find it there. Not only will you pick up your registration materials there, but there will also be a place where you can shop the AKSI Marketplace. There will be some other vendors there where you can buy some AKSI swag, because that is one of the dress code responsibilities during the week. We should have a lot of high-level volunteers hanging around that particular area. And as I said before, this is where you would drop off your donation to Teachers Treasures. Make sure you have that package of pencils or 2 on your list of things to pack into your suitcase. Now, if your flight does not get in on Wednesday in time for to check in until 9 o'clock, we will have that open again starting at 7 o'clock on Thursday morning. Now, every delegate and alternate delegate has to check in at 8 a.m. Even if you've already completed the credentials form, you still have to check in, because we have to ensure that you have arrived. Now, again, if you haven't checked in to receive your name badge and that type of information, you need to go down and get that taken care of prior to coming into the delegate and alternate check-in. Now, that does not mean that you come down at 8 o'clock to check in and then expect to get into delegate and alternate check-in. No, you need to be down there to register probably around 7:30 a.m. And then because the meeting starts at 8, you need to be in there at 8 o'clock. And part of the process will be to scan your badge. So you have to have your name badge in order to get there. This event, again, will authorize you to be the chapter's delegate or alternate delegate during our chapter Congress meeting on Thursday afternoon. What chapter Congress means is a meeting of one chapter from every chapter that we have that is currently active. So during this time, you're going to meet the regional directors, the program managers, your fraternity president, and the executive vice president. We will all be there to verify that your credentials have either been submitted. If they haven't been submitted, we will get that taken care of at that 8 o'clock time frame. And we will give you a ribbon that you can put on your name badge. This ribbon is an automatic signal to those people that will be working the door during chapter Congress that you can actually be in that portion of the room. So you also need to be able to make sure that you have that ribbon on your name tag immediately. Without that ribbon, you're going to be denied. You can come to the meeting in the back of the room, but you're not going to be able to sit in the front of the room at the table. Now, The dress code for Chapter Congress is professional dress. For a $5 donation, you can purchase what we call a dress down ribbon, allowing you to wear business casual attire for Chapter Congress, and that is a fundraiser for Teachers Treasures. So we are definitely helping them along the way from that standpoint. Now, a little bit later on, Jason's going to talk a bit about the committees. And the committees are made up of delegates from each of the chapters in attendance at convention, and they're led by a chairperson. And these individuals will discuss the proposed legislation to determine what, if any, of that legislation will be brought to the Chapter Congress floor for a vote. So as Mike and Luke explained earlier, that is the legislation that is being proposed. Now, if the board chose some of those things they chose not to pass, what that means is that that might not come to the convention floor. But if you feel strongly about that, and that is your particular committee, there is still an opportunity to be at the committee and to be able to get that on there. Now, there are only, I think, 5 or 6 committees, so it's very possible that you may not be, your chapter might not be assigned to a particular committee, but you certainly can attend any of the meetings that you wish if you're not assigned. You're welcome. They are not closed meetings. They are certainly open, and you are welcome to attend and to participate. Participate from the fact that you can speak your mind and testify, but if it becomes a vote, you would not be able to do that. That would only be the delegates that have been assigned to that particular committee. Considering that we just finished registration, we're in the process of finalizing all of registration, ensuring that we know who is coming. And so we will be announcing who will be assigned to committees and when within the next week or so. We'll put that out on the website, and we'll also put that in the My AKSI community. So we have an 8 a.m. meeting on Thursday for your delegate alternate check-in. What are you going to do between then and the 2 o'clock Chapter Congress? Well, we also have a parliamentary procedure seminar. I would highly encourage all of you to attend this. Your chapter should be using parliamentary procedure as you run through your meetings, but I can pretty close to assure you that what you use for parliamentary procedure and what you will see on the Chapter Congress floor will be 2 totally different experiences. So it would be helpful for you to be able to brush up on that. Lunch that day is on your own, so make sure that you grab lunch in that particular time frame. There are a number of places walking distance within or from the hotel that you can be able to pick up a quick meal or have a leisurely lunch, whatever you would decide to. Please note that there is no food or drink other than water that will be allowed into the meeting room. So do not think that you can pick up lunch and bring it to Chapter Congress and enjoy it. That will not be possible. Upon entry into Chapter Congress, there will be a warden who will greet you, and you will need to know the official handshake and password in order to be admitted to the room. Chapter Congress and Celebration of Brotherhood that we will do on Friday are member-only events. So the only way that we know that you are a member is to provide that handshake and that password. During Chapter Congress meeting, I would suggest that you take your cues from the person at the lectern. Each committee will have a chair that will go up to the microphone. They will report what that committee has agreed on. And at that point in time, there will be either time to ask questions or to vote. It just depends on what the report says. So if you do decide that you would like to speak for or against the motion or have a question, there'll be 2 microphones on the convention floor for you to go to. One is called a pro microphone and one is a con. So as you approach the microphone, make sure that if your comment is for, that you're at one microphone. If your comment is con, you need to be at the other microphone. When you get up there, you want to say, "Good afternoon, my name is," and I'm the delegate for chapter name and school. We would ask that you speak slowly and clearly so that we can capture that for this with a stenographer for official record. Now, when it is time to cast a vote on whatever the matter might be, there'll be a motion on the floor and that will be approved or not approved. We will also have an election for the fraternity president. For those of you that were on the virtual chapter congress earlier this fall or earlier this spring, you will remember that Deshaun Keys was reelected as the vice president, but we were unable at the time, or the executive vice president, but we were unable at the time to get a majority vote for a fraternity president. So we will be having that election during chapter congress. Now, throughout the meetings, your alternate delegates are encouraged to listen, pay attention, and they also are able to sit on the convention floor with you as the delegate. Now, while this is not in my script, Jason, I am also going to add that we are going to vote just like we did with virtual chapter congress, and that will be through an app on your telephone. And the only person that will be able to vote is the delegate. So for instance, if you as the delegate decide that you need a bathroom break or you have to do something, in order for your chapter to continue to have its vote, you will have to leave your phone with the alternate so they in turn can cast a ballot whenever that particular event happens. So I think I've covered everything off of that slide. How did I do, Jason?
You know, it's a lot on that slide, but I think you did super well, Wendy.
Great.
Yeah, awesome job. Awesome job. Well, I think we're gonna head off to the next slide here, which is actually some tips on do's and don'ts of convention. Do you want me to cover this, Wendy, or are you good?
I'm ready.
Awesome job. Let's go for it.
All right. Do you know where you're going? Well, you're going to Indianapolis, so that helps. We are going to the Westin Hotel, which is downtown. Now, what we're going to do is over the course of the next 22 days, it is only 22 days until we meet in the racing capital of the world, is we're going to send you a series of emails that's going to provide you a tremendous amount of information. Each email is going to be different in the content that we're going to provide, so it's going to be important that you read each one of them. Lost my place. So this registration confirmation email will also tell you exactly what you registered for. I know many of you may have registered, let's say in February, and you'd say, gee, what event did I register for? So one of the emails that we'll send will actually tell you everything that you're registered for. You can add all of these, any of these events, mostly starting, let's say on Friday and Saturday when we talk College of Leadership, going into My AK Psi and clicking the Manage Your Registration. And then on the next screen, you'll hover over those 3 little dots that are on the right-hand side and say click, then you'll click Purchase New Sessions. So there is where you can add any of the certificate programs that you're looking for. We're doing a couple of Accelerate programs. So on Friday and Saturday, there are multiple sessions going on. So we would encourage you to go in and click the particular sessions that you want to attend at those times. There will also be a new event app that we will be providing you details on that you'll be able to use. You won't have to use My AK Psi in order to find out where you need to go, give you descriptions, all those other types of things. The biggest advice that I want to give you, and the biggest do, is that you are on time. Will not hold doors for any events, including your meals. I will also say for celebration of brotherhood, we will, if you are late, we will start at exactly 4:15. The doors will close and you cannot enter from there. Again, that is a membership only event. We need password and handshake. So once those doors close, then there will be no one else admitted and you will miss that event, which many will tell you is the highlight of their convention. So it's important that not only are you on time, but you're early, because there's always a lot of people around. It might take time for elevators to come through. We have to scan badges as you go on. So there's a whole process for you to get there. Also, we need you to participate. Don't skip out on any of these events. Each of these events has been created with all of you in mind to best suit the needs that you have. And the more people that attend, the more that you're going to learn, the more networking that you're going to be able to get. Now, I think the big question that is on your mind is, what do I pack? What am I supposed to wear? So Wednesday, our dress code is casual. We would love if you wore AK Psi attire, but it is certainly casual since that is a travel day for most of our participants. Thursday, as we discussed, it is business professional unless you purchase a dress down ribbon with a donation of $5. That would mean you could dress business casual. Friday is an assortment. We are business casual for all of our events that are at the Westin. We are going to be transporting you all from the Westin to the offices for the grand opening on Friday, and that attire is casual. Keep in mind that you will be outside for some of this event, and if we're lucky, it won't rain, but I can probably guarantee that it will be hot and humid. So make sure that you dress for that. That would also be a great time to wear your AK Psi letters for that particular event. That is another thing that you definitely are going to want to be on time for, because once the buses are gone, it's a 45-minute drive to the offices, and that is not an Uber ride you want to pay for. Saturday, we are business casual during the day. And then in the evening for the grand banquet, we are professional dress or cocktail attire. This is always the event that we look forward to because everyone gets to dress up, and it's always nice to see what that looks like.
Sweet,
So
Wendy.
now I'm going to swing it back to Jason.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Okay, so we're about wrapping up here. Wendy mentioned earlier about committee assignments, and she also mentioned that they aren't quite ready yet. So as soon as those are ready, we'll post them to the akpsi.org/convention website, as well as the event in the My AK Psi community. And we'll email everyone so that they all know whether or not they're assigned to a committee. I'm going to review just a very high level what the committees do. We do have 6 committees for the 62nd convention. They are Constitution, Finance, Membership, Nominations, Resolution, and Rules and Credentials. And as Wendy mentioned as well, each committee is chaired by an alumnus member. So, okay, so each of the committees, and you'll hear from the committee member or committee chair as well, hopefully, before convention. So the Constitution Committee, the delegates who are assigned to the Constitution Committee will participate in reviewing the legislation submitted to the board prior to their spring board meeting. This is most of the legislation or partial legislation that Mike and Luke just reviewed. Not all of it, because it is broken down into Constitution and then Finance and Membership. I would want to reiterate, though, to please be in the room on Thursday morning at 8:55 a.m. to ensure your proper prompt start time for this meeting, because I'm sure it will take a while. So On the Finance Committee, the delegates assigned here to the Finance Committee will participate in reviewing the financial legislation specifically. There were a couple of pieces that Mike and Luke reviewed that were submitted to the Board of Directors again prior to their spring board meeting. And once again, I will ask you to be in the room no later than 8:55 a.m. To ensure a prompt start time, and all of the room time or room locations and schedule and all that will be both in the event app as well as in the MyKSI schedule too. So I think the next one is membership. So membership, I sound like a broken record, but I'm just going to say that the delegates assigned to this committee will participate in reviewing the membership legislation that was submitted to the Board of Directors prior to their spring board meeting. Once again, be in that room at 8:55 a.m. Because you want to get that meeting started. So the Resolutions Committee. This committee, they're assigned and their responsibility is to provide the insight, the congratulations, the recognition, thank yous for the 4-day convention, and their kind of overall report is presented during the grand banquet at the end of convention. So they'll meet a couple of times throughout the course of convention. Okay, the Rules and Credentials Committee. The Rules and Credentials Committee. They will verify the credentials for each chapter to assist in the determination of quorum for the meeting of Chapter Congress. So it's important that if you are assigned to this committee that you are there to help verify those results. Again, that meeting will start promptly at 9 a.m. So we ask you to be there 5 minutes early at 8:55. And once again, we will list all the committee assignments on the website as well. Now, I mentioned earlier that there are 6 committees. The last one that we have is the Nominations Committee. And while the committee is charged with vetting the eligibility of the candidates for election, this committee will not meet during convention or on site because their work was completed this year, hence the virtual Chapter Congress that we hosted in May. And I just want to say thank you to those who served on that specific committee for that process. So we'll have five committees that will meet on site, and we'll have those assignments made soon. So, yeah. And now I'm going to, I guess, turn it back to Wendy to wrap us up for the night.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jason. I did see that Jason did answer a question on where you can find the legislation. Just want to reiterate that you can find that at aksi.org/convention. I would highly encourage you to review that legislation long before you come to convention, and maybe even discuss it amongst your chapter, so that, because again, as you're the delegate for the chapter and you are the voice of your chapter, you want to make sure that you are voting for what the chapter as a whole want. So I would definitely encourage you to do that. You'll also find the roommate sharing and the carpool sharing forum that we talked about. There are also responsibilities for the delegate and the alternate, just in case. We've provided a lot of information, and you may not have picked up on everything, but there is a list there for that too.